and welcome back to The Growing Revolution. I'm Eric Olson with Smart Pot Fabric Planters, and this week our guests are Tarra, Quinn, and Andrew Martin with 024 Creative. And they're helping companies, especially in the cannabis industry, improve their marketing and branding. And being based in Oklahoma, we have a definite kinship with them, so we wanted to get them on the program. Tarra and Andrew, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you for having us. We're excited.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we're stoked. Get out the nerves.
Yeah. We've been talking and interacting for a while. We've been following you guys. Love your creativity and your content. So I'm excited to get to know you guys more. First off, how do you two know each other, and how long have you been working together with 024 Creative?
It's been quite a journey. We met back probably about a year and a half ago. I was selling product at the time, and Andrew had started in events, and I was a vendor there. And he came up to me, and we just kind of chatted for a minute, and then we just kind of progressed. And he had this idea for an event called Bazaar, and he came to me, and I was working at a magazine at that time. And he was like, "Hey, do you want to jump on this and help us advertise and distribute these posters?" And I was like, "Cool." And to this day, I did not know what he was even talking about, his concept on this event. And it was kind of funny. I was just like, yeah, cool. It sounds like a good thing. It was for the patients and for the community. So I jumped on, and the rest is history. We started 24 Creative in May of 2022. We just kind of took some big leaps and jumped off and went off together and just had this crazy idea. So it's only been about 9 months or so that we started this.
So it all started with an idea for an event. Did that event actually take place? And how did that go?
Yeah, you can kind of chat on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, actually, we're about to do number 10 in April. So the event she's talking about is called Throwdown Bazaar, our shoppable cannabis marketplace concept where patients interface directly with the makers of their medicine and have opportunity to then choose specific options, based on methods, based on cultivars, based on specificities or preference of human being, and then be able to make those decisions live and then act on those decisions in a marketplace. Purchase.
Yeah, that's a really cool concept because, today's day and age, the average bud tender is definitely, not super knowledgeable about the product, and then especially since they didn't grow it, so they don't know what all went into it, ingredients and techniques. So that's a really cool concept with the Throwdown Bazaar. So getting into your guys' creative agency, who are some of your clients and what are you all doing for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's really a big scope. We primarily are in the cannabis industry, but we also, that's why we have 024 Creative. It's actually 420 flipped upside down because we believe that we're all community. And so we run socials for a farmers market district. We have a local attorney, and we're always talking to different brands and local restaurants and things like that. We want to be versatile in what we do. But primarily we do work in cannabis. So that's the fun part about it, is just rebranding, packaging, design, social media, websites, all of that kind of stuff. SEO we're getting into. So it's been pretty fun.
Okay, so it's not just social media work. You guys are just like 360, whatever marketing and branding companies need. Okay, good to know. So Andrew, I read into your background, and you're really heavy on social media, and especially with your brand Passive Juice Motel. What is that, and is that something that you're still a part of?
Name Passive Juice Motel is a brand, and no, I don't have it now. I ran it for about 12 years, and strategically, it's essentially just evolved into this. So I closed it intentionally and moved the things that I learned from it into what I'm doing now. That was the whole idea. Passive Juice Motel was a brand my wife and I ran, a pop culture t-shirt company, I guess you would say, screen printing, till my sciatic nerve couldn't do it anymore. And we'd send everything, all 50 states, most countries, APOs that you can send product to. We were lucky to find ourselves in the wildest of situations. And like you said, it was based on social media. So it's based on pocket viral moments within different demographics. So celebrity driven or theme of a moment driven. So a television show or a movement happens or a phrase gets said on the Grammys, and I'd take that pop culture zeitgeist component and put it into something that was demographically targeted to, like in my case, like the 90s, often 1992 ish to about 99 is my core thing that I cared about the most for whatever reason. And so I studied that, and I would find ways to pair things together to create a universe of interfacing with different things, so different kinds of humans. Someone who likes hip hop music but doesn't, also likes Homeward Bound, and you put those two things together, and it creates an odd community of people that you're forcing connections. Mm-hmm. So in my little weird world, I imagine them in a physical space shopping together and in a symbiotic way and enjoying each other's company, because they're sharing interests. Took that idea, getting attention and using the internet, social media, parlay that into what we do today. So I still do all the design work and t-shirt making. It's just for brands now and has a little longer shelf life for me. When I make something intentionally with a brand, we can use it for years on end if it's a logo. We can use it for months if it's a product. We can, so there's more shelf life. It makes me feel less like I'm spinning like a top all the time and drawing like I'm in a cage, having to just draw all the time. So I get to do more stuff now. I get to go see growth and do more stuff now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, clothing and apparel, that's a tough industry, very competitive. So to be doing it for like over a decade is really impressive. So you really must have your finger on the pulse of culture, and you can tell that from your guys' content. It's all very timely. So Tarra, you've put on Home is Where the Weed Is with High Hopes Productions. What is that all about?
Okay, so Home is Where the Weed Is was created because I come from the beauty industry. And so when I left the beauty industry, a lot of my clients would message me and be like, hey, can you get me this cannabis product? Or can you get me this? And I'm like, you should go get your card. And then when they got their card, they didn't have any education, and they would walk into a dispensary. And most of the dispensaries they didn't even feel comfortable in. They would have like big pot leaves on the outside, and it would be some bud tender that had no idea what they were talking about. And so I realized that there was a demographic that really wasn't being reached. And so I call it kind of like a country club event. So we have an event where we bring in educators and they talk for about 10 to 15 minutes each. So this last one, we brought in mycology, Korean natural farming. We'll bring in a lawyer to talk about what your rights are, things like that. We've brought in OMA, which is who, regulates our state for cannabis. And so that way people can ask direct questions. We have a sit down and it's really quick. I always tell people I'm really ADHD. So if somebody gets up there and talks for an hour, I'm not going to retain most of that information, but at least they get out a little bit of what they can do. And now you can connect with them further after the event. So we feed them, we sit them down, we have a really good time, and we just have that one-on-one connection. And done 2 now and sold out both of them, which has been really awesome, and just had a lot of people show up and ask questions. I had my son's teacher there. And another thing that I do is I advocate for autism and pediatric patients. And so that's also a big thing. So I bring the special needs community in. There's a lot of moms that just don't know or have any resources to talk to anybody about cannabis and natural medicine. So we bring a big emphasis on that as well.
That's really awesome, because I'm a big advocate of cannabis as medicine.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people with like ADHD, kind of spectrum issues can definitely be helped with cannabis products. So cool that, you're kind of reaching out to the crowd that, really isn't, familiar with the product to get them up to speed. So we kind of touched on Cannabis Events a little bit. What do you guys have planned for the future? And, I had another side question, like what all goes into planning an event? Like I think of like Wayne's World 2 and Wayne Stock, so that's my frame of reference.
It is literally, it is that.
Yeah.
And you hope for those kind of things to happen, within the,
like Aerosmith showing up.
Yeah, exactly. The crazy manifestation comes true. Often it just comes up with it starts with an idea, generally speaking, as basic as that sounds. We have moved ourselves to receiving requests kind of just, naturally, as opposed to trying to create events. We want them to be more collaborative because, to answer your question, that's what we found is there's a lot of components to a successful event, or to create the intention you want, I'd say more so. It's kind of like having THC without the deltas, or just the deltas, and no cannabinoids and no terpenes. It's just kind of going. So you never know where you're going to land, and without detailed intention, detailed execution, repetition of processes, even just if you're going to have a shopping mechanism, it has to work flawlessly. The orders have to be checked in a certain way. The manifest have to be driven a certain way if it's cannabis. So we do things collectively with players in marketplaces that can do things because we want to do things that are, bigger than just the two of us. So
yeah, and we try to not feed in too much to the 420 culture, smoking down, loud parties, because what we find out is, so with the Throwdown Bazaar that we do, another big component is that it's a flash sale too, so that's an incentive. We believe that everybody should have access to their medicine at an affordable cost. Being a parent myself, even being in the industry, my son medicates on cannabis for his autism and ADHD, and it's hard for me to find quality products, so then we bring people in for that. And yeah, it's just been a lot to do, especially when 24 took off. So we still do these events, but now we lean on that dispensary a lot and use it more as their marketing, and they help us with the event quite a bit. We're really trying to get into more, I wouldn't even say fitness, but like activity-based events. So we're going to be doing a 5K and a fun run. So High Hopes will do the fun run. And then if you guys see Andrew on social media, he dresses up as Robin Hood. So we're going to do a storybook character thing, and he's a runner. So if you catch him, there's like incentive. And we always do a lot of give back programs to veterans and any type of community event we can. We're going to be doing a fishing tournament. So that'll be fun. Bring out your family, bring out your kids, and that's what we saw with Throwdown Bazaar is like, we were really sensory friendly, keep the music down. We want actual conversation. And we saw a lot of kids coming in, a lot of disabled people. I mean, there was like older folks, nurses and people just coming off the street to see what it was. And then you have to have that accepting, inviting atmosphere. And so, so we're really excited. We've got a community cup coming up that we're doing with Jordan from Growcast. We're really excited. He just moved to Oklahoma, so we're going to be doing a lot of education on home growing. I think that's really exciting because as myself, I've never grown before, and I want to know how. I think you should be able to, know more about the plant in that way as well. So that's another thing that we're going to be doing this year.
That in April.
Yeah. So that event's in April.
May.
I'm sorry.
May 7th.
May 7th. I got it confused.
Okay, nice. And where is that at?
In Oklahoma City at the Farmers Market. It's just the Farmers Market District. Yeah, it's going to be really awesome. We have a couple educators. Brandon Russ is one of them.
And is that going to be like is that going to be like a 420 friendly event? Like people can partake at the Farmers Market?
Matter of fact, there'll be a duality to the event. So we'll have an education course at the same time, a very quaint cup. So 14 brands will bring grammed out totals, or the dispensary will gram them out. And judges, participants, patients will be able to get a 14-gram flight. Mm-hmm. And then during the 5 hours that we're at the farmer's market, there'll be a couple of different coins that designate different designations for maybe flavor profile, best overall, whatever we determine. We haven't landed on that yet. But essentially very, very basic process where they just blind vote by sticking them into a jar, and then we'll name a cup winner. So we will be having all of that consumption going on, as well as the home growers will be able to showcase what they have cultivated during the season as well. So they'll be able to bring that in and show it off. We can't say that you'll be...
I think for cannabis... Yeah, I think for cannabis competitions, really a blind judging is the only way to be fair. I'm sure, everyone's kind of familiar with the High Times Cannabis Cups, and, the general, consensus on that is, whoever pays the most is the winner on those, which I think is bullshit. It should be... Any competition should be blind. Justice should be blind, just like cannabis judging. Okay, cool. So, how would you guys say the current business climate is for cannabis in Oklahoma, and what's the future looking like? Especially with like recreational cannabis. That isn't on the next ballot, is it?
It's actually an off-season, off-cycle ballot, so it's happening in March.
Yeah.
On the
This March.
this March.
Oh wow.
It's called 820. Yeah, we're honestly, a lot of people in the industry are against it. We are probably on the polarizing side of it for it. I think you can talk a little bit more about this, but I think the whole thing is people think that a lot of mom and pops are going to unfortunately close business, but it's already happening that way. And it's going to get us ahead of the curve if we go ahead and go recreational, because we don't know when the next time we would be able to vote on it.
Yeah. I mean, the climate is difficult, honestly. We met with a brand to film, like a fun series of a walkthrough, and they kind of gave us this grim, testimonial to set off the day. We're like, oh boy, I had to lay off 10 people, like the week before we had met them, so it was very, they were very upset about that, it doesn't mean that recreation will fix that. It'll definitely. 9% of Oklahomans have a medical cannabis card right now. So it's a small state. So kind of think of it that way. If we open up the pathway, I have a friend who texted me 2 days ago, and he's like, I'm going into the dark side. My card's about to expire, and I don't have the extra cash right now. So I'm gonna hope I don't get drug tested for a few weeks till I get the extra cash. So there's definitely a line of accessibility, and this is not a wealthy state, so that's immediately a subject. People have hand to mouth income by a large percentage, and so it creates a limitation. Even though it's designed to be a program. And then that program doesn't really have application, so we're all really paying for is to not be arrested. If you really want to get down to it, we're not paying for access to a doctor who can prescribe. We're not being paid. No one's housing medical records. So 3 years from now, if I want to see how it's been going, no one's doing that. We have no programs. There's no facilities, no clinics. So it's just to pay to not go to jail monopoly card.
Yeah.
And so. That's my basic opinion, that if that's all that you're going to provide for the $215, then just let everyone in, because it's already a free-for-all. It's based on the bud tender. It's based on the interfacing that you achieve with where you land. It's kind of just a dice roll like we've talked about. So not having it, maintaining this is not maintaining a quote-unquote medical process, because there's not a return on that investment. Other than not being thrown in jail, and so why limit people to that? Think about it that way. Like you're telling poor people, then essentially, or people who are don't have the income to put into that.
Yeah,
you're saying you are going to go to jail because you can't afford them to not go to jail card.
Yeah,
but the people on the other side don't have anything that you don't have other than that. They don't have a clinic. They don't have a doctor. They don't have references. They don't have a procedure. There's no medical program.
Even when I got my son's card with him being 8 years old, it was a doctor actually FaceTimed me while she was driving in the car, and it was like, okay, what's he needed for? I said autism. She said, okay, hung up the phone. I had my kid's card. Now, if I wasn't that's why I provide so much education, because I was lost, and you just start using all these different products and stuff. And so providing the education and going back to our morals and values for why we do events is access to all. So how can we be against 820? Is it the best? No, there's going to be bad sides to it. But at this point, it's like, like I said, we're a very conservative state, so we need to go ahead and vote it through while we have the chance.
There's going to be more regulation. There's going to be government bodies that'll be established with power. There's going to be Department of Transportation, Department of Agriculture, essentially an FDA-like experience. But the brands are already experiencing that. One of our brands told me that they roast peanuts and then coat those and then sell those, and the organic peanut itself was testing for fecal matter, and they were having to blanch or boil a finished product before they modified it. So cannabis is held to a standard of cleanliness that's not even held by modern food consumption. So
obviously,
so how can you say then that the adding government regulation, all it does is let the OMMA become the police. So instead of having to be all inclusive and have to govern agriculture, transportation, delivery, how we throw it away, how waste, etc. They can focus on just regulation, and then they can let the transportation companies, the agencies that deal with that, The agencies that deal with goods and services deal with goods and services. It's how California operates. It's how most major states operate.
Now, how about taxes with Oklahoma? Are taxes going to go up with recreational versus medical?
Maintains the medical program, so it's still at the current 15.549 that it is now. It just remains the same. Yeah. A passer through or anyone of age that isn't a part of that program, it does double that.
And that's a big talk about it, but then you can just go get your card, but then it also plays into that, what if you don't have the money for your card, now you're taxed, so that's what we're saying, like, yeah, we don't think it's perfect.
But they're never going to allow it to pass without money in their hand.
Yeah.
Unless it creates an incentive for them. They already pushed it to an off cycle from, they already pushed it from when everyone votes to a random Tuesday in March.
On spring break or something like that too. So it's funny how it's ending up, politics. Woohoo.
Mm-hmm. So there are other.
But at the same time, I think that might bode well for you guys, because then the people who are really passionate about it will come out and vote yes, and the people who are like either on the fence or like, they won't show up. So I bet it's going to pass. And
We're
as long as
hoping.
home grow is still available, then I guess I'm more likely to support it.
It actually loosens the regulations on home grow. We have like a grow and destroy program right now. You can only maintain certain amounts. If you keep it for concentrates, you process it into butter, you can keep more. They're eliminating a lot of that. There's also like a no share part of 788 where you're not supposed to technically share your home grow. They're loosening that as well. So 820 is more pro home grow than 788. Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, I home grow, it has to be included. I live in Florida currently, and I've heard that one of the big MSOs is pushing for recreational, but specifically leaving home grow off of
that's terrible.
that, and I'm going to vote no 5 times.
That's all for profit. That's the concept. They can make you dependent on it like a pharmaceutical product where they are the only ones that are allowed to make it.
We're definitely for homegrown.
Mm-hmm. Access to all means access to all in all things.
Yes, I saw that you guys were the marketing team behind a lawsuit with OMMA with Felina Rivera and Amber Pecchio Garrett. Yeah, hopefully I pronounced that right. Can you explain what that lawsuit's all about?
Yeah, there was a lot of issues with Metric when it was implemented into Oklahoma. It wasn't implemented right when it became legal here on 788, and so it was a couple years later. And there was a lot of issues with their software. A lot of companies couldn't upload their stuff, and so they were like in this holding period, and they weren't able to sell. I mean, some people for months had it in, and that's why we lost a lot of companies at that time. And so we came on. They asked us to come on and help market them and get their contacts to be able to help them if they want to file an individual lawsuit. Right now, we're just hoping that Metric will help them out a little bit more, but it's just kind of still like in limbo, honestly, with Metric.
Yeah, it's just an exploratory piece of a litigation. It's just basically to see what is happening to the different businesses and what problems it's caused them, to see what kind of class action, if any, is out there. And so that's
so you're just in the discovery phase on the lawsuit.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, to be continued.
Yeah.
What are some of the ways that people can get in touch with you to acquire your services? I know you guys have like a ton of handles, but what do you think is the best ones?
I would definitely say the 024 Creative, just on Instagram, is probably the best way to get a hold of us. We also have the same email, 024creative@gmail.com. That would probably be the best, honestly. Just slide into our DMs. We check it regularly. It's the best place. We also have different handles. He's Shearweed Forest. I'm Hi, it's Tarra. And then I've got a couple different ones for High Hopes, but they're all in our bio. As soon as you go onto 24 Creative, our personal handles are in the bio as well.
Yeah. Same with the link to the website.
Yeah.
You can inquire there as well.
Yep.
Nice. So that was pretty much all the questions that I had for you guys. Was there anything that I, missed, or anything that you guys, wanted to kind of talk about or shout out before we sign off?
I would just say stay up to date on the events that we're going to do. One of our goals, too, is to bring the model from Sheer Forest Throwdown Bazaar and Homes Where the Weed Is to different states. So if you're open to that and you want to know more information, we would love to hit the ground running when somebody first becomes legal. We can provide all that education for you and organize that. So that's a big thing that I want to get into, manifest it into the new year. So that's really all. I think you asked wonderful questions, and we just appreciate your time, and we love Smart Pots, and we just appreciate you guys.
Yeah, well, we love your guys' content, and looking forward to, hopefully participating in your guys' event, because it sounds really in line with, who we're trying to get in touch with and reach out to. So on that note, Andrew, Tarra, this has been a great interview, and I really appreciate your guys' time.
Thank you. Thanks for thinking of us.
Thank you.